In the early 1970s, Jamaicans fused the ethos of the oppressed with rhythms of Africa to produce a healing force named reggae. And by the end of the century, reggae had traveled the world, and the reggae anthem One Love declared the song of the millennium. Yet, today's portrayal of reggae leaves a lot to be desired. The coalition to preserve reggae music is on a mission to raise the bar in reggae music and increase its healing around the world. We, Jap people, can make it work if we come together and keep it real. There's idle chatter and there's real talk. This is Real Talk. Mighty race, you can accomplish what you will. My people, you are strong. Liberate the mind. For a new generation. Chance has never yet satisfied the hope of a suffering people at all. To achieve true liberty. Greetings and welcome to Real Talk for this Thursday, the 12th day of May 2016. My name is Carlisle McKetty, Brother C, and I'll be your host and guide for this edition of Real Talk.
Children's back, sweat, blood and tears, and I do it for years. Hear the children call, them a ball. A nation without education can't box the white squad. This is serious, it's rough to see some a wipe, some a shine, some a kill, some in a broad daylight. The temple of the Most High begins with a body which houses our life, the very essence of our existence. Where is your respect for life? Build a better nation. Tell the youth the truth for us. Educate your mind. Liberation time for us. Africans are in bondage today because they approach spirituality through religion, provided by foreign invaders and conquerors. We must stop confusing religion with spirituality. Religion is a set of rules, regulations, and rituals created by humans, which was supposed to help people grow spiritually. Due to human imperfection, religion has become corrupt, political, divisive, and a tool for power struggle. Spirituality is not theology or ideology. It is simply a way of life, pure and original, and was always given by the Most High of creation. Emancipate. Spirituality is a network linking us to the Most High, the universe, and each other. Together we are one. We are strong. We are one. Once we come together. One perfect love.
One perfect love. Like I said before, this is Real Talk. My name is Carlisle McKetty, Brother C. And we're going to be talking this evening about a few things. I want to start this evening, though, by looking at something that some folk have been waiting for quite some time with a lot of anxiety as to how it would be achieved. I'm speaking of the budget in Jamaica. Of course, some 580 some odd billion. Oops. 500 and I believe 80 something billion dollars is the budget. I guess we'll find out in a minute. But perhaps the thing that folk were anxious most about was the tax relief promised in the last election. I believe it was said that the tax threshold would have been raised to $1.5 million. And, it made some people happy, some people apprehensive. I had all kinds of responses to the notion of this tax relief. And now today, the budget debate in Jamaica was started, and the Minister of Finance has kind of shed some light on just what it will be. It says here in the Gleaner, income tax threshold to be increased to 1 million in July. This afternoon, sort of a caption, this afternoon, Shaw said he had taken all the comments into consideration, and the plan would now see the tax threshold for all pay-as-you-earn workers move to 1 million come July. It didn't give much background, but I guess it didn't need to for folk in Jamaica. Everybody understood what this is all about. The income tax threshold for all Jamaican PAYE workers, pay-as-you-earn workers, will be raised to $1 million as of July 1st. This was announced by Finance Minister Audley Shaw this afternoon in the House of Representatives as he opened the debate on the national budget, it says here. The $1 million income tax threshold is a variation of the Jamaica Labour Party's campaign promise to free all workers earning up to $1.5 million of their income tax obligation, while maintaining the 592,800 threshold for other workers. The campaign proposal was described as unworkable and inequitable by some critics. This afternoon, Shaw said he had taken all the comments into consideration, and the plan would now see the tax threshold for all pay-as-you-earn PAYE workers move to $1 million come July. He said the threshold will be further increased to 1.5 million by April 1st of 2017. The finance minister said this would mean that instead of just 118,000 people benefiting, 251,792 people will now be removed from the income tax roster. Interesting development. Hopefully we'll have someone knowledgeable to talk to us about this in the coming weeks, as we look at this new tax plan. I suppose it is a big question. Folks said it was inequitable that some people, pay as you earn, would have a threshold of 1 million, while others would, I'm not sure who these others are. I'm not sure if these are people who I'll have to find out, but the remaining workers in the population who are not pay-as-you-earn workers will have a lower threshold of $592,800, which is like 60% of what the PAYE earners are have as a threshold. Clearly a double standard, and I would want to know the rationale for the difference in standards for paying income tax. If you're a pay-as-you-earn worker, you don't pay on your first million, but if you're not, then you start paying after $592,800. Curious as to just what the justification for the difference is and who these workers are. We will definitely have to have some knowledgeable people to come in here and talk to us about this in the coming days, weeks, whatever. But we certainly will have to understand some more about how this works. It certainly does not comport with what we understand a progressive tax system to be, unless someone can explain. Otherwise, I would say it doesn't. I want to say greetings and welcome to Tony Rankin joining us in the chat room. Okay, so that's it for the long-awaited tax announcement in Jamaica. Another announcement that took us maybe a couple of weeks ago was the change of ownership of what I believe is the biggest multi-day music event in Jamaica. Reggae Sumfest. There has been, they're in transition from one ownership group to a new ownership. And in that transition, all parties, meaning the ownership group as well as the new owner, are working together on this year's event, which takes place, I believe, July 22nd and 23rd. And here's this piece that says, "No foreign artists for Reggae Sumfest," declares its organizers. And it reads, "When Joe Bogdanovich acquired the Reggae Sumfest brand, he promised some changes to the festival and the entire Sumfest experience. With the 16th staging of the festival fast approaching, the businessman has revealed that there will be no international night this year and no international act." Seems to be quite a drastic change from years gone by when you had a dancehall night, a reggae night, an international night. then they had 3 days of music. That has now changed. But I'm ahead of myself. Well, they've eliminated the international night. It says that the festival, which has been scaled down from 3 nights to 2, will see dancehall night being held on Friday, July 22nd, and reggae night on Saturday, July 23rd. Reggae night replaces international night. Bogdanovich, who spoke to the Star newspaper yesterday, revealed that over the past few years, the overhead costs to secure international acts for the festival had been too expensive. Now, just recently, there was an article in, not sure, don't want to make a mistake, don't want to say what publication it was. Well, it was either the Gleaner or the Observer, not sure which one, where the commentator was saying it could cost $2 million, $2 million US dollars to secure an international act of the caliber that that he was talking about, and that Jamaica could no longer afford that. And here it is. I don't know if that was just a balloon being floated, but here it is playing out. The new ownership, the new owner, Joe Bogdanovich, of Reggae Sumfest is saying the international acts are just too expensive. Quote, the kind of cost and money that is spent on international acts has been prohibitive, he said. We'd rather not spend money on the outside, but to support our own. Interesting choice of words. Former executive director of Sumfest Productions, producers of Reggae Sumfest, Johnny Gerzong, told the Star that even before the announcement that Bogdanovich had acquired the Reggae Sumfest brand, the board of directors had been thinking about pulling the plug on International Night. The time, quote, the time had come when we wanted to rebrand, and with Mr. Bogdanovich's transmission into the company, it was just the right timing to rebrand Reggae Sumfest as a reggae festival, he said, adding that this move has been in the pipeline for the past 2 years. Excuse me. In the pipeline for the past 2 years, he said. He added that it can cost organizers, oh, here it is, it can cost organizers up to $2 million or $2 million US dollars or 248 million Jamaican dollars to book an international act, depending on who it is. Over the past few years, international acts such as Chris Brown, Alicia Keys, Rihanna, T.I., Common, and Jennifer Hudson have performed at the event. So now we know the artists that we're talking about, the kinds of artists we're talking about, and the prohibitive costs that we're talking about. Would love to hear your thoughts out there on this. You need to join us in the chat room. Just to get in the chat room, if you look in the lower right hand corner, you see it says profile. Click on profile, put a name, your name or whatever name you choose to go by, and a password, and you're in. Come on in the chat room and let's talk about this. expect to be joined by a guest in a few to talk a little bit about it. But hey, you can also be a part of the conversation by logging into the chat room. Come on in and let's talk. Tony Rankin who is over in Thailand, has lost his stream. Sorry to hear about that. We're going to be making some changes that's going to make it a lot easier for folk all over the world to join us on Facebook. Just as soon as the members do, or prospective members, make good on pledges and make pledges. We are indeed a listener-sponsored, listener-supported platform, and we depend on you to make things happen. So it would be helpful if a few more people came on board. The sooner the better. We'll be able to get that stream up on Facebook. Have to get some new software to be able to make that happen. But for now, just look at the profile or click on profile, put your name in, put your password in, and come on in the chat room. Let me read some more of this. Gerzang also explained that if the festival continues to book leading overseas acts, the board would be forced to raise ticket prices, and this would probably be too expensive for the average Jamaican. So the market is dictating that the board hold the line on ticket pricing, and as a result, the international acts have become unaffordable. Although there will be no international acts for this year's festival, organizers are optimistic that the local acts will be enough to ensure a sold-out audience on both nights of the concert. Quote, "Dancehall has always been strong, and we have always been very strong. And we have always been very strong with the dancehall, and it will remain so. But there has been a whole renaissance of the reggae music," said Gerzang. "There has been a big revival in reggae music, and the patrons, especially the tourists, will be coming out to see our top reggae artists in performance." Something I'd like to discuss with our guest in a few. Several artists, let me see here. Give me just 1 minute Several artists have already been booked for the July 17 to 23 festival, but the organizers have not yet released any names. But the absence of International Night from the Reggae Sumfest lineup may not be a permanent fixture, as the organizers revealed that they are currently thinking of ways in which they can secure international sponsorship for the future stagings of the event. The organizers are also hoping that with the free live streaming across the world being one of the festival's main features this year, more eyes internationally will be forced to pay attention. It says more eyes, international eyes, will be forced to pay attention to Reggae Sumfest. Quote, "What we are doing this year is taking the festival to the world with 360 virtual reality streaming. that has never been done before for reggae music. This is being said by Robert Russell, a member of the Reggae Sumfest Board of Directors. This innovation is to attract international sponsorship. This will bring more eyes to the festival so we can expose Brand Jamaica to the world. All right, so there we have it. Reggae Sumfest changing its formula. First, it's free live streaming available worldwide to brand the festival and Jamaica internationally, and reducing the number of performance nights from 3 to 2, and eliminating the international night. And, well, at least for now anyway. And of course, there will be no international singers, no international artists booked for this year's event. That's a major shift, I think, as we go from 3 nights to 2, from a broader mix to a narrower mix, and at the same time making everything available for free via live stream. Now, I'm not sure if it's going to be available in Jamaica, but it certainly will be available internationally via live stream. Did it say whether or not, what did it say about it says the organizers are hoping that with the free live streaming across the world, and I suppose across the world includes Jamaica. They're not blocking out Jamaica, it seems, in terms of the free live streaming. So a number of significant changes in this year's Reggae Sumfest, and did I mention a change in ownership? Important change, and this change in ownership is being cited as the opportune time to make some changes that were previously contemplated, have been contemplated for the past 2 years, says the spokesperson for Reggae Sumfest. Okay, so let's look at the issues. Change in ownership. Change in ownership from local to international. Major change right there. Major change right there. The change from local ownership to include international owners. And from what I understand, there is a transition from the current owners to this new owner, who will eventually, I guess, be the sole owner, from what I understand, sole owner of the event, which is now being called a festival. So there's a change in ownership. There's a change in the branding to become a reggae festival, there is the reduction in the number of nights. There is the elimination of international artists from the event, the elimination of international night, and, well, the live streaming worldwide of the event. A lot of change to happen all at once, and we'll see how this works out in this year. We'll see how this works out in this year. Like I said, I welcome your comments in the chat room regarding this massive change, I would say. Massive in that it's almost a complete makeover. Almost a complete makeover of the event. Well, I have someone texting me to say that, and I wish you would come in the chat room so others could see it, but it says that the bottom line is, will the integrity of reggae and the raising of current standards be maintained and changed? Will the integrity of reggae and the raising of current standards be maintained and changed? So this presupposes that there is a raising of current standards to be maintained. Interesting. I guess the question then is, how will this impact the integrity of the music, is the question being raised, as well as the standards. We'd love to hear more of the conversation about standards and how that differs from the integrity of the music, and what changes would like to be seen. Feel free to hit me back and let me know some thoughts on that, and feel free to come in the chat room and have an exchange with others in the chat room. So with all of these changes, and of course change can be traumatic, there's questions now about changes with the music itself. Okay. So what changes did we talk about? Ownership, branding, marketing, looking for international sponsorship, and now the question being raised in the audience is, how will this impact the integrity of the music and the raising of current standards be maintained? Interesting question. I guess we might want to find out, how did the festival impact standards in the past? But it certainly is a legitimate question to ask. Wherever there's change, there's always stuff that could happen, that could go wrong, that could go right, that could, be bring about an improvement, or bring about something in the wrong direction. And there's a question here as to the bottom line for this person, as a matter of fact, not just a question, but the bottom line is, will the integrity of reggae and the raising of current standards be maintained and changed? Now, this mixture is something that has been sort of long-standing in Jamaica. Jamaica Jazz and Blues has that model, let's say creative model as opposed to business model. The Jazz and Blues has that model. And we see here in New York an event recently started, a one-day event, reggae rhythm and blues. Almost sounds like jazz and blues, but reggae rhythm and blues kind of has the same formula where you have a little bit, and it's a one-day event, a little bit of reggae, a little bit of dancehall, and a little bit of international, music, rhythm and blues. So that formula seems to have been popular over the ages. Of course, it's not the only formula that works in Jamaica, but it has been a formula of long standing. Does this signal a breakout of that formula? And I ask that because there's also Rebel Salute, which does not work with that formula, as I recall, but is more a Jamaican event as opposed to a hybrid, as in jazz and blues, and as some fest used to be, and hopes to return to being with the addition of international sponsorship. What then is the implication for festivals in Jamaica, for, well, maybe I shouldn't use the word festivals, but music events in Jamaica? I'm wondering what the implication is, whether or not this being a major event, making this drastic change, or these drastic changes signal some changes, including the change that was raised having to do with the integrity of the music and the raising of current standards being maintained and changed. In the chat room, Ann Moore says, greetings and welcome, Ann Moore. Thanks for joining us. Over the years, I believe the focus has been more so on revenue as opposed to maintaining the integrity of reggae. Yet, no one seemed to pay much attention to raising the standards across the board. As far as quality in music or performance, I think that was pushed to the side. Oh, okay, so Ann Moore is saying that that she believes that over the years the focus has been more so on revenue. Well, every promoter has a focus on revenue. And she says more so than maintaining the integrity of reggae. Interesting point, which raises for me the question of what is the responsibility of the promoter with regards to the standards, and where does the marketplace come in? I can certainly see and hear the promoter saying, well, I am guided by the marketplace. I'm guided by issues of supply and demand, and whatever the people want is what I'm going to give them. Standard of music is a matter for record labels to concern themselves with. I am promoting an event to turn a profit, and so absolutely my primary focus is going to be revenue. Of course, in so doing, a promoter could potentially be killing the goose that lays the golden egg. So there has to be some balance. And Moore says further, will this management raise the standards in quality across the board? International Night became a farce to me. So, Anne Moore is saying that International Night became a farce. That means, she says, the change in management. I guess with regards to what I said, the change in management will not necessarily make a difference then. Well, clearly it is possible that the change in management, that the new management brings a new vision. What the priorities of a new management will be, we have to see. We don't know. I'm not saying by any stretch of the imagination that promoters have no responsibility for standards of the music and therefore will only be concerned with revenue. I'm not saying that at all. That would be irresponsible of me to say that. What I am saying is that there is a balance. The promoter must concern himself with a balance between, and of course, the bottom line dictates that the promoter must be concerned with quality. So, quality clearly has to be an issue for the promoter. The Coalition to Preserve Reggae Music is, you might say that a part of our mission is audience development. Because in order for any industry to be maintained, you need consumers and you need new consumers. And so audience development is an issue. What importance, what priority does the promoter put on audience development? I don't know. Artist development is an issue. You want to have artists going forward. This thing has been going on for 16 years. Well, if the standard of artistry was in a steady decline for 16 years, you would imagine that the festival would be in steady decline. Of course, by whose standards? We each have our own individual standards, but the festival as a event has its standards. And so, this is one event, but there are others, and they have different standards and different criteria and different ways in which they judge whether or not it's qualitatively what they're looking for. So Rebel Salute clearly has a different perspective on the art that it wants to present. Jazz and Blues has a different perspective on the art it wants to present. And of course, what's the event on Boxing Day? Can't think of the name right now, but it has its perspective on the art it wants to present. And then there's Carnival with a whole nother perspective. Sting, thank you. Thank you, Moderator Y. Sting has its perspective on, the art it wants to present. And each of these have an audience. And the promoter has to make a judgment about how to go about satisfying the audience. And this is where the whole notion of audience development comes in. You almost are in effect doing some audience development as you decide on your artist mix, because you're going to have to market this to the audience. You have to make some judgments about your audience and the taste of your audience and who you're appealing to and all these things. And to see so many changes being made to Sumfest at one time is quite interesting to me. Well, Antmore says, if only they would raise the bar and bring the masses up to the level. This would so add to bringing things closer to where they ought to be. Well, where they ought to be is a function of perspective. Where they ought to be from whose perspective? From the promoter's perspective? From your perspective based on your taste for music? And bringing the masses up to level. Again, the promoter is going to want to think long and hard about its responsibility in that regard. Clearly, the promoter will have many partners in that regard. The media being a big one. You can't in 1 and 2 days, in a 2-day or 3-day or 1 week event, hope to impact the masses when for the other 360 days of the year, you have a media that is not supporting your efforts to quote unquote bring the masses up to level. Whose responsibility? Who shares in the responsibility for bringing the masses up to level? And Moore says, sensible people who know what good music is. Well, I wonder what you would say to the promoters of Sting. And not just the promoters of Sting, but the audience of Sting. Are those sensible people or not? Or the audience at Rebel Salute? There's a diverse audience, and I suppose the festivals reflect that. The events reflect that. There's something for everybody, I suppose. I don't suppose anybody is left out. And Moore says, not most of them aren't. I presume she's speaking of Sting. What about jazz and blues? Are they sensible? As we might recall that there was no Jazz and Blues Festival this year. What happened there? Did the promoter decide that those people are just not sensible, I can't work with them? Or did the numbers not work to make it worthwhile while Sting continues to work? And so is the promoter being sensible by working with a Sting formula as opposed to a jazz and blues formula? After all, jazz and blues is on dry dock this year, And Sting rolls on. Okay. And Moore says, if we continue to feed the people crap, that's all they'll know and demand. And that's true if that's all they're fed. But where does the feeding take place? There's 365 days in the year. Is the 2-day festival determining what the people demand, or is it responding to what the people demand based on what goes on year round? I'm just asking. Give them what's good for them, and they'll come to accept what's good for them. Wow. Is that a business proposition, or is that a social work proposition? Is that a business proposition, or is that a government proposition? Is that a promoter proposition, or is that a proposition for the institutions of socialization within the community? This would include school. This would include church. This would include civic organizations. This would include the media. This would include family. These are all institutions that exist year-round and contribute to the socialization of, the community. It's why we here say working together to make things work. Clearly, there has to be a working together. And Moore says, jazz and blues folks are mostly sensible, but looked upon as uppity in our society, and so people stay away. Well, I would ask the question, how sensible it is to have a posture that have people look upon you as uppity. How sensible is that if it's going to keep people away from your event? So, I would question the notion that that uppity and sensible can reasonably coexist. Revamping radio, says Ann Moore, is the main issue. Start there. Well, and what responsibility does the festival promoters, whether it's Sumfest or Jazz and Blues or Sting, how can they contribute to revamping radio? It's everybody's responsibility, says Ann Moore. I want to say greetings and welcome to Don Minot joining the conversation. We're looking at Sting. And we're looking at Reggae Sumfest. Okay, another comment. It's the rich folk in the society who patronize jazz and blues, and so the others don't think it's for them, not knowing it's for everybody. Is it that folk are staying away because rich folk are patronizing it? Or might it be that they don't share the taste of the rich folk? And maybe there needs to be a festival that caters to that taste. And whoever has that taste, come. So, provided that it's feasible for the promoter and they can make a profit. Is it that people don't know, or people know and don't care to partake of that particular sampling of music if it's geared towards a particular taste. Clearly, the rich folk don't necessarily patronize everything. So should the not rich folk patronize everything? Or should people patronize that which pleases them? Moderator says elitists attend jazz and blues. Ordinary folk felt they could not attend. Well, that speaks then, is that because of the cost? Or is that a self-esteem issue? Why would you feel that you can't attend? You know, is it that it's cost prohibitive? When you say rich folk, does it mean that it's that the not rich folk are priced out of attending? Or is it that they don't particularly care for what's being offered and don't find that a good entertainment spend? Anmore says, this is about more than music. I'm not saying it's about music at all. I'm saying it's about taste and values. You know, there's the pantomime and there's street dance. Or there is the pantomime and there is roots theater. It's not just in the music, it's in art across the board. There's just different tastes. And again, is it the festival's responsibility to cultivate the taste or to respond to the taste, to see an opportunity and cash in on it? They're in business. There's a bottom line here. What should it be? Is it a non-profit social work, nation building venture? Or is it a straight up capitalist profit making venture? And what is the social responsibility in such ventures? Important questions. Important questions. We're going to take a little break and come right back and look at some more of this. We'll be right back.
This program is made possible by the generous support of viewers, members of the Coalition to Preserve Reggae Music, partnerships with progressive organizations, and sponsorship from socially responsible businesses. CPR Live proudly acknowledges the support of the following.
After a long day of aches and pains, let Fountain Pimento Oil soothe your pain away. It can be used on almost anything: shoulders, arms, legs, your whole body. Just heat it and rub the pain away. Made in Jamaica, bottled in Brooklyn, let Fountain Pimento Oil be your little medicine cabinet in a bottle. Call and order today, 866-223-2414.
Caribbean rocks, New York City, make sure you attend, with 10 for 10 at the legendary BB King's June 5th and celebrate the beauty of the Caribbean and our amazing culture.
Ready for Tempo Turns 10 in association with the Caribbean Tourism Organization presents Caribbean Rocks New York City featuring Romaine Fogo. Baby, I wanna be Loyal Flames, Cecile, Isaac Blackman, Rock City, Siggy Rankin, and the hot new singing sensation, beautiful Caribbean songstress Aretha. Hosted by Trinidad and Tobago's top comedian, Rody. Also, special guest appearance by Jamaica's own Quite Perry. It's a sophisticated and entertaining red carpet night. For more information and ticket outlets, visit www.gottempo.com. Caribbean Rocks NYC with Tempo Turns 10. Brought to you by the islands of the Bahamas and Barbados.
The islands of the Bahamas and Barbados, bringing us Tempo Turns 10 Caribbean Rocks, New York, June 5th at BB King's. We'll be talking with the founder, the visionary of Tempo this evening, and many of these questions are quite relevant, and I shall certainly introduce them to our conversation as we talk with Frederick Morton, founder and CEO, owner of Tempo. Okay. Going back to the chat room though, Anmore says, class separation. Okay. If more ordinary folk were exposed to new things, pantomime versus street dance, they'd come to find that they might actually like the pantomime. Not wanting to mingle with who one believes are their oppressors causes the divide. Street dance attendees have just as much right to attend pantomimes, but they are made to feel they cannot or shouldn't. They are made to feel they cannot or shouldn't. I would have to ask, who is doing the making? Who is making them feel that they cannot or shouldn't? Well, Don Minot says jazz is considered uptown music in Jamaica. The underclass is more receptive to reggae and dancehall. And more, just curious. What nationality is the owner of Tempo? We'll get into all of that just as soon as he gets here. He should be here shortly, and we will definitely get into all of that. Okay, I'm getting a message that they are a few minutes away. Jazz is considered uptown music in Jamaica. You know, at one time, jazz was considered, to use a Jamaican expression, boogie music in its homeland, in the speakeasies, in the vaudeville establishments. Jazz was the dancehall music of America, of African America. And in fact, some people today resent the name jazz because they believe it's a cheapening of the music. It's looking down on the music. And now Don says jazz is considered uptown music in Jamaica. Jazz has evolved over the years from the music in the dance halls, which is where jazz began, in the dance hall, and evolved. Guess there's hope for dance hall yet. And Moore says it goes back to that whole issue about Bolt living uptown, being where he ought not to be. Well, you know, Bolt was just named in Forbes magazine because of his wealth. So we talked about wealthy folk before, but it goes back to that whole issue about Bolt living uptown, being where he ought to be. That's the same mentality, and where they come in. Well, the issue of Bolt living uptown, was that an issue of, was clearly not an issue of wealth. It was an issue of behavior, wasn't it? Loud music. I want to disturb my neighbor, blow them the full watts tonight. See, I think that this argument is somewhat bogus. Clearly, there is a, well, here we had the wealthy, super rich Bolt celebrating Vibes Cartel. So the king of dancehall. So is it wealth? It couldn't be wealth. There are some values that seem to transcend wealth. And Moore says he's still considered by many to have passed his place. By virtue of what, though? Clearly, it can't be by virtue of his wealth, because those many, well, there are few that are wealthier than he is, so it's not wealth that is the determining factor here. Although we tend to associate certain behaviors with wealth, and therefore we say it's wealth. Don Minor says, back to International Night. What about artists like Spear, Cliff, Toots, Damien, Ziggy, Shaggy, Marcia, just to name a few? We really don't need international artists from other genres. We really don't need. Who doesn't need? What is the spending public desiring? Okay? That becomes a real issue. What are people willing to spend their money for? Are people going to spend their money for Marcia? For Shaggy? For Ziggy? For Damien? Toots? Cliff? Spear? In the same way that they turn out for the artists that they named? In the same way that, let's see, some of the artists who've been there in the past, it was in the piece right here, see if I can find it. I know Rihanna was named. I know T.I. was, okay, here it is. Over the past few years, international acts such as Chris Brown, Alicia Keys, Rihanna, T.I., Common, and Jennifer Hudson have performed on the event. Now, the first thing that stands out to me right there is the age difference between Spear, Cliff, Toots, and even Shaggy, and those international acts that were named. Rihanna, Alicia Keys, different generation. Is that what the people want? Because, you can't force Toots down anybody's throat, or Jimmy Cliff down anybody's throat, if that's not what they want. Anmore says distinctions need to be made. People expect a foreigner to be on stage on International Night, and will have no less. Okay, so, all right. So people have expectations. And the people have expectations beyond international being international. There are all kinds of expectations that people have, and the question that I'm raising is, what exactly is the responsibility of the promoter? Seems to me that as a business, the promoter has to respond to the expectations that people have. I need to see if I can find a comment that was made earlier. A comment that was shared with me out of Jamaica. Let me see if I can find this comment, which I think would be rather instructive. I'm not finding it. But Janet Silvera, who writes for the paper, The Gleaner in Jamaica, is Madam Hospitality out of Montego Bay, talked about her wish or her expectation to see International Night return. In fact, she said, well, moving dancehall night to Friday night is a good thing, because it will be on a night when people don't have to be concerned about going to work. So, dancehall night on a Thursday night was not helpful to the dancehall acts. Then she also said that she expects to see the return of the International Night, and she points out the claims that are made in the article that there is a business model being implemented that will seek to underwrite International Night with the proceeds of sponsorship from the international market. So there's a plan to be responsive to the people's, as Anmore says, people expect a foreigner to be on stage on International Night. And I don't think Don Manott was saying back to International Night, why not Spear, Cliff, Toots, Damien, Ziggy, Shaggy as international acts. That's not what he's saying. He's saying that we really don't need international artists. From other genres. I guess he is saying that these are international artists. And Anmore is saying, well, no. The international implies foreigners. And these folk might be overseas. That don't make them foreigners or international. It reminds me of my concern with Cat Core, who says Jamaica reggae was started in Jamaica, but it's no longer Jamaican because it's international, I guess. It's the same issue here, Just because you've left Jamaica don't make you international. It means that you are a Jamaican overseas. Let's take another break and come right back.
New York City, this is Romain Virgo inviting you to Caribbean Rocks NYC with Tempo Turns 10, the main event. Brought to you by Tempo in association with the Caribbean Tourism Organization. Sunday, June 5th, New York City comes alive with the pulsating sounds of the Caribbean. I will be there to talk about love. Also featuring Rock City, Ziggy Rankin, and the beautiful Caribbean songstress Arita. Come celebrate as the Caribbean rocks New York City at Tempo Turns 10, the main event. Be there. Oh baby, you don't understand. Oh girl.
association with the Caribbean Tourism Organization, presents Caribbean Rocks New York City, featuring Romaine Fogo,
Baby, I wanna be
Loyal Flames, Cecile, Isaac Blackman, Rock City, Siggy Rankin, and the hot new singing sensation, beautiful Caribbean songstress Aretha. Hosted by Trinidad and Tobago's top comedian Rody. Also, special guest appearance by Jamaica's own Quite Perry. It's a sophisticated and entertaining red carpet night. For more information and ticket outlets, visit www.gottempo.com. Caribbean Rocks NYC with Tempo Turns 10. Brought to you by the islands of the Bahamas and Barbados.
That's right, Tempo Turns 10, brought to you by Barbados and the Bahamas, among others. We're going to be talking in short order with the innovator behind Tempo. Will be joining us in just 1 minute, but I just want to close out this section by looking at a question from Ann Moore. What do you think about this comment on the program note, Brother C? International night fail because they build a brand on using R&B or hip-hop and not the real global reggae world beat artists, which would attract patrons from foreign countries to come here, Jamaica. Why paying US to earn Jamaican? Well, is that the reason? When, well, of course, they're not saying that international reggae night. There was no international reggae night. I'm not sure what you mean, international reggae night fail. There was no international reggae night built on using R&B or hip-hop. I think this needs to be rethought because there's nothing, it's not an international reggae night. There's a reggae night and there's an international night, and the international night is built on R&B or hip-hop. It's not a reggae night. There's a reggae night separate from international night. And there are different festivals with different flavors. Like I said, Tony Rebel's Rebel Salute kind of satisfies what y'all are asking about in terms of reggae acts. And, well, I don't know what the economics of it is. Seems to be holding its own. But, you know, promoters respond to taste, and there's an array of tastes. So it's not an either or it's not, it doesn't call for everybody being mixed together in a melting pot scenario. There's also a mosaic scenario which can work and is working, in the sense that Sting is one piece of the mosaic and Rebel Salute is another piece of the mosaic, and Sumfest is another piece of the mosaic, and Sumfest is itself a mosaic with dancehall night, reggae night, and international night. They're moving from 3 nights to 2, eliminating international night. Not because international night was not popular, but because international night has become cost prohibitive. When it's costing you $2 million for an artist, the Jamaican economy clearly has not been supporting it, and they've had to rethink it and look at the need for sponsorship to wheel and come again. That's pretty much what they're saying. All right. Well, you know, my guest is here, so we're going to take another quick break and have him join us. And we're going to talk tempo. Somebody wanted to know the nationality of Mr. Tempo. Well, we're going to get into that in short order.
So much good music out there. We have so much talent out there. And for them to recognize that and to launch a channel for that, that is totally amazing.
I knew at that point that Tempo was blessed. Tell me, would you really die for me? Hey, would you spend your whole life with me? What's up? Would you be there to always hold me down?
Tempo turns
10. Caribbean Rocks is proudly brought to you by the Islands of the Bahamas. It's better in the Bahamas.
Caribbean Rocks, New York City, make sure you attend, yeah. With Tempo Turns 10 at the legendary BB King's June 5th and celebrate the beauty of the Caribbean and our amazing culture.
This program is made possible by the generous support of viewers, members of the Coalition to Preserve Reggae Music, partnerships with progressive organizations, and sponsorship from socially responsible businesses. CPR Live proudly acknowledges the support of the following.
This is Sugar representing for the superwoman Audrey Thomas. And I'm here to tell you that Audrey Thomas is a super lawyer, superwoman, super everything. So call her at 877-LAW-NERD. That's 877-529-6373. That's Audrey Thomas, 877-529-6373.
After a long day of aches and pains, let Fountain Pimento Oil soothe your pain away. It can be used on almost anything: shoulders, arms, legs, your whole body. Just heat it and rub the pain away. Made in Jamaica, bottled in Brooklyn, let Fountain Pimento Oil be your little medicine cabinet in a bottle. Call and order today, 866-223-2414.
New York City. This is Romain Virgo inviting you to Caribbean Rocks NYC with Tempo Turns 10, the main event. Brought to you by Tempo in association with the Caribbean Tourism Organization. Sunday, June 5th, New York City comes alive with the pulsating sounds of the Caribbean. I will be there to talk about love. Also featuring Rock City, Ziggy Rankin, and the beautiful Caribbean songstress Arita. Come celebrate as the Caribbean rocks New York City at Tempo Turns 10, the main event. Be there. Oh baby, you don't understand. Oh girl, the full intent of my plan. Baby,
Okay, and we're joined by Mr. Tempo. I understand is the name of this well, he has another name.
Yeah, I got another name, but they call me Mr. Tempo.
They call you Mr. Tempo.
I do have a birth name, yes. It's Frederick Morton.
Oh, wait a minute. Let's put you in the mix. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Yeah. Well, first of all, pleasant good evening to your listening audience. It's a pleasure to be here with you. But yes, I do have a birth name. Everybody calls me Mr. Tempo for some obvious reasons that will actually become clearer as we get into our conversation. But my name is Frederick Anderson Morton Jr.
Frederick Anderson Morton Jr.
That's correct.
Are you happy with the name Mr. Tempo?
Yeah. It's you know, I built a brand that is a part of me, and I think I could have much worse names. So I take it.
Well, let's find out a little bit about who is Frederick Anderson Morton Jr.
Sure.
Folk wanted to know, what's his nationality?
Right. Well, I usually start by saying I'm a Caribbean national because, you know, I'm a man of the Caribbean. My accent can't even be detected anymore because of how I move around in the Caribbean. I sort of pick up everybody's accent. But I was born originally in the U.S. Virgin Islands. So that's St. Croix. And my parents, though, are from Nevis, which is another small island in the middle of the chain. And so I spent my coming up moving around. And so I'm a Caribbean national, but I'm a Virgin Islander, and I suppose a Nivision.
Did it ever give you problems saying you're a Caribbean man?
No, no. I grew up in a household, man. That's what it was about, you know. Very, very proud of being Caribbean. I was even, you know, as a kid, more Caribbean than I was even a Virgin Islander. Maybe it's because I spent my summers with my grandparents in Nevis, and then I went to school in the Virgin Islands. So I always had a sense of being a Caribbean man. I'm very proud of it, you know.
Actually, I've had trouble with folk ask me where you're from, and I say the Caribbean.
Yeah.
And they look at me and say, yeah, but where?
Yeah, we're in the Caribbean, yeah, sure.
Folk are never satisfied with you wanting to brand yourself as a Caribbean man. That's what I was asking.
Yeah.
I know I've had trouble with wanting to brand myself as a Caribbean man. You know, Jamaicans feel like, well, you're not proud of Jamaica, on the one hand, and the rest of the world seems to feel the same way, that I want to know where you're from.
Where exactly
specific
you're from. Yeah.
Nation.
Well, I believe you can be proud of where you were actually born and still be have a regional identity. We're in the Caribbean are more similar than we are different, and that's what my brand is about. And so I'm Caribbean first, and then but I was born in the Virgin Islands.
Talk to me then about your appreciation of Caribbean culture,
right?
And where did that come from?
Well, that manifested very early. I mean, I believe I was born the minute my mom gave birth. I was a cultural man. I really believe that this is a divine calling for me, my passion for my culture, because I can't explain it in any other way. Because I'm mad for it. I mean, it's just a sort of a crazy love, when you're in love with something, it's blind. Well, I'm in love with my culture and my people and my region. And so ever since I knew myself, in fact, I just the other day I had some water damage in my house, just to give you a quick story. And the room, I went away, I was in the Caribbean, and I came back, and when I came back, the temperature had dropped so drastically that a pipe burst, right? So it messed up some of my documents, and I had to remove the documents and stuff like that. But long story short, I ended up seeing a box of some old stuff, including my report cards from grade school and stuff like that. And so I bounced up on one. I think I was in the 5th grade or something like that. And so I started looking at it. Of course, you look at these things and you become nostalgic. And I saw one of the reports and Caribbean history. I got distinction, A+, and distinction in.
All right.
And so I realized at that moment, that this thing was from a long time ago, that I was very much into.
Yeah, but with all due respect.
Sure.
You are a brilliant person.
Well, thank you.
And even if you didn't like Caribbean history, you probably would have gotten an A anyway.
Oh, look at that.
Isn't that true? Isn't that how you apply yourself?
Well, I do. I mean, I will say this. I thank God for the gifts that He's given me, and one of those is my ability to actually learn very quickly. And so I schooling, to the extent that you want to talk about that, I have a lot of that, a whole bunch of degrees, and but the measure of man is really, as you know, in the heart and soul of what he does. And so I really. With those gifts I'm thankful for, but I want to really use them to make a big contribution to our community.
I read somewhere that in your very early days, you weren't really focused on the arts of the Caribbean, and that when you came to the United States in your teenage years, that kind of increased.
Yeah.
Was there something about the environment of the Caribbean that that caused that, or what exactly happened there?
Well, like I said, I mean, coming up, I always had a sense of who I was as a Caribbean boy at the time, and through my parents, who I loved dearly and have been my heroes. When I came to college, though, something happened. I realized that we, as a region, really needed to sort of stand up a bit and and be recognized in a number of ways. And so when I got here to the United States as a teenager for college, I joined the West Indian Organization, all the Caribbean clubs, and I started to, really sort of dig down into who we are as a people. I mean, I took more classes in Caribbean studies, and I really got into it. And when the more I did it, is the more I felt like we really needed to unite. We really needed to come together. And so by the time I was done with 4 years of college, I was like, put a fist in the air. And I remember coming back home, and I came back home completely geared down. And my mother said, "What happened to you?" And I said, "Well, man, I guess it's an enlightenment, mommy." And and it's been like that.
You went to school at Rutgers.
I did.
And you went to law school at Rutgers.
I did.
Did you meet the first lady?
No, I didn't meet the first lady. No.
Paths did not cross.
No, I didn't cross. Yeah.
Right.
But I went to Rutgers for my college, and then I went to Columbia actually for my master's, and then to Rutgers Law School.
Right.
Yeah.
What was the master's in?
Public administration.
Public administration.
Yeah.
So you did what was your
MPA.
undergraduate?
Undergrad was economics with a minor in theater, and then a master's in public administration at Columbia, and then of course the law degree at Rutgers University.
With a minor in theater.
Mm-hmm.
So you were focused on the arts even going in.
Yes. Well, it's interesting that you raised that, because I've always been a creative soul. Mm-hmm. Even as a child, it was dance and theater and singing and dancing and everything else. My parents, though, they saw all of that as extracurricular. Yeah, good, strong Caribbean parents that just said, open a book, get into that book. And I did that to some days reluctantly, but I did it, and the compromise when I went to college was, because they wanted to see me in a profession where in their minds there would be a certain level of stability. So I compromised. I said, okay, I'll do economics, but I'll do theater undergrad.
The compromise.
Yeah.
Does this mean that you had your mind set on a career in the arts?
I did. I mean, I have a maximum amount of respect for my parents. Honor thy parents, as the Bible says, is like an understatement for me. I love them to pieces. And so their desire, to some extent, as I was coming up, had to become my desire, because, of how I felt about them. And so especially, my dad's direction and my mom's passion. So I did what they said. I went and I did economics and I did law, but I always kept my creative side, and they knew that. Mm-hmm. And here I am. I'm in the midst of bringing forth a network where I can, explore my creative side, yet still run the business and still look at our legal documents and everything else. So it's pretty interesting that I'm glad I took their advice and put it that way.
You aspired to a career in the arts. Did you have any notion of what that would be?
I think that if I had pursued it, I have marginal singing ability. I could hold a note.
You could hold a note.
And a lot of people are now calling me a great songwriter. So I could write a song. But I could only hold the note, right? But I in theater though I couldn't be beat. So I would have probably gone into theater.
We're not going to ask you to demonstrate your songwriting.
No. The songwriting I could deal with, but not the singing.
We're not going to ask you to demonstrate your theater prowess, but you do have a microphone. We might ask you to sing.
No. You see, you want to set me up now. See, you and I was going along so nice. No, you can't set me up like that.
I didn't set you up.
Yeah, but if you ask me to write a verse, I probably could do that right now and deal with it. You gonna have to sing it though, right?
You don't want that.
Okay, see? Right. But it would have been acting. Yeah.
You left college and you pursued your law career, and you represented Fortune 500s and Fortune 50s.
I did, yeah.
You worked for a $70 billion company.
Yeah.
What was you thinking all of that time about the arts?
Well, I certainly, even, in those positions as a lawyer and working for all those companies and stuff, I always stayed in the community. So, believe it or not, I was working as a lawyer at a major New York firm here on Wall Street called Simpson Thatcher, and I had a nightclub called Visions over in New Jersey, which was a Caribbean nightclub. And
you owned a nightclub?
I owned a nightclub, man. Yeah,
So
for
your
about 4 or
foot
5
was
years.
always in the
I was
same-
always in it. No matter what I was doing, I was in two worlds. I mean, one could even say I was schizophrenic at one point, because I would literally be in the courthouse arguing a case, or, up in the ivory tower with a whole bunch of lawyers discussing, strategy. And then, at 2 a.m., I'd be down in a nightclub, serving I don't even know what to say, a Hennessy and Coke or something. To some patron who might not be so happy.
Wait, you were actually serving?
I would do everything because it was my place. I do believe that if you own a business and you're an entrepreneur, you must be able to do everything, and you must do everything in order to encourage those who are around you, one, to let them know that you can do it, and two, also to let them know that you're willing to do it. So I did everything. I mean, I work security, I work the bar, I mop up the floor, I go to, the coat check, everything.
But did you sing?
No, I stayed away from that one. See, you gotta know, a lot of people don't realize this, and they do things thinking that they can do it, or they wear a piece of clothes that they really shouldn't really be wearing. People do all kinds of different things. I know what I know, and I know what I don't know. And a lot of people, I mean, these days I've been because I'm doing a lot more songwriting, I just have to sing it for those that I write it for, and so I'm doing a little bit more. And just the other day, one of them that a young lady that I write for, who you will know, she's her name is Arita. She actually said to me the other day, you're singing coming along, right? Right. So I don't know, right? But I don't believe her still.
Oops, I wanted to talk about some of your non-music activities. I see here that Johnny Cochran was or is a mentor.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Did you work with him?
I did.
In one of these law firms?
I did. I didn't work with him in the law firm. The way I actually met Johnny, we were adversaries. I was representing MTV Networks at the time, and he was representing Spike Lee. Spike had brought a case against MTV when MTV launched or changed the name of one of its network to Spike TV, which everybody probably knows.
Yep.
Well, Spike Lee sued, saying that it was an infringement on his name. So I was defending MTV at the time, and he was defending Spike, and that's how we got to know each other.
Uh-huh.
Right. We ultimately settled that case, and he got to. Obviously, I had a tremendous amount of respect for him, and he got to know a little bit about my skills and to know me as a person, and became a mentor during that period of time and after. Yeah.
Did you ever be a part of his team in any
I was
case?
never a part of his team. We were adversaries, and then we became, we just had a mentor relationship. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
colleagues. So I could pick up the phone and call Johnny. He would call me when he's in town, all that kind of stuff.
Is that because you were about to slew him and let him off the hook?
I would say that. Rest in peace, my brother. Right, rest in peace. Yeah, but we came to an amicable resolution, and I think that he was impressed with the way I dealt with it.
What became of the name?
It's still Spike TV.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you won.
Well, oh come on! You see, he's trying to set me up. I did well.
You did well.
I did well. Everybody came out happy, and I did well.
Everybody came out happy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
Right.
All right. Okay. Modesty apparently is a part of your.
I think it's important.
Arsenal as well.
It's important.
Okay.
It's important. I think humility. I mean, Christ came and he rode into tongue on a donkey, and we have to watch how he moved to figure out how we move. And that's how he moved. So I feel like it's important, and that's how I grew up. So I can't move any other way.
How important is religion and spirituality in all that you do?
It's everything. It's everything. I don't. Temple would not be in existence. I would not be sitting here with you today having this wonderful conversation but for, the love of God, man. My parents used to, I always tell it, when people ask me that question, I always answer this way. My parents sent me to 2 churches every Sunday when I was a kid. Two, not 1, 2. So every Sunday, I used to have to go to Anglican church in the morning at 7 a.m. Now, Anglican is where I was confirmed in, so most of my family is Anglican. But my family didn't believe that I would get the fullness of the whole scene at Anglican. It's very stoic and it's very, rigid and everything like that. So, but I had to go. So from 7 to about 8:30, I would be in Anglican church. And then I'd come home and mother would cook a little saltfish or something, feed me. And by 9:30, in a church named Pilgrim Holiness. And you could hear from the name we're dealing with that now. So from about 9:30 till about 1, 2 o'clock.
Catch a spirit.
There you go. So I know practically, very grounded in the Bible, all the stories. And from that upbringing, he has been a part of my life ever since.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. You did a few things and then you ended up at Viacom.
I did, yeah.
Tell us about how you got to Viacom.
Well,
was that a part of your strategic plan to pursue this career in entertainment?
The answer to that is that I believe that I definitely, when I look back, I've always been some form of an entertainer. Being in all of the plays and being in the theater and being, just always loving arts and culture, I've always done that. And so, but I didn't know whether I was going to, again, be on the business side of entertainment or on the entertainment side of entertainment. Now I straddle the two, Now I straddle the two. So this left brain, right brain thing that I got going on,
Let me stop you right there
Sure.
because I started to ask something earlier and it kind of slipped me, but something in the chat room has jarred my memory.
Okay,
And
tell
more
me.
says, how does he find a balance? Serious multitasking, yet quite successful.
Oh, wow.
And I was struck by that earlier on, that you seem to be always balancing and succeeding at balancing. Talk to us about balance.
Well, let's talk about succeeding first. You have to fail a lot to succeed too, Most,
We're going to talk about your failures tonight too?
Well, we can talk about anything, man. I'm open. You make, it's a comfortable vibes in the building, and so I'm good. But yeah, you have to fail a lot to succeed. To become a big home run hitter, you strike out a lot. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you're gonna hit sixes, let's start cricket. If you're gonna hit sixes, and become famous for hitting sixes, that means you gotta swing that bat hard every time, and you gonna miss. So you're gonna get ball out a lot. Yeah. So one of the things is a lot of people think that success comes without failure, but it really is. You gotta learn from those failures and keep going. For me, so I've had what a lot would consider failures along the way, but I don't. Yeah, but I don't. The key is having a purpose and a mission and a vision and relentless determination. And realizing that from each one of these failures, you can learn something, You can actually learn something. And actually that you failed for a reason. Because God may say, it's not your time to do this just yet. And you must fail and butt up on this one first so that you can understand how to deal with it when you butt up again later.
My grandmother used to tell me, and I've always remembered, every disappointment is for some good.
There's some good in it, man. And if we begin to realize that in our lives, you realize you sit back and you rock back. And then sometimes you may say, man, but this is too much disappointment, man. Every time is disappointment. But God has his plan, man. And one could argue that the more disappointments you get is the more, if you wait and be patient, the more successful you will ultimately be. So
a mentor of mine used to tell me about the Fuller brush salesman.
Right, tell me.
The Fuller brush salesman was told that the law of averages say he had to sell 100. He would sell 1 out of every 100 calls that he make. And so every time he would make a call and get a rejection, he would actually be happy.
Right.
Because he said, I'm moving closer
to the success.
Yes.
That's exactly right. Yes. That's exactly right. That's a principle that I think if more people understand, they wouldn't get too caught up in the moment. And it's a skill that you actually have to work on, because it's just so easy as a human being to just get caught up in the emotion of that disappointment. But the caller talked about balance, and I still working on balance. You know, a lot of folks will say I'm a complete workaholic and I don't sleep a whole lot. My dad taught me that you sleep when you're dead, and you're gonna have a lot of sleep then. And because I respect the man, I really believe you sleep when you're dead. So I find sleep gets in the way, but we know we have to have it. So I try to get a little bit of it, and enough to not fall down and be unhealthy. But you know, you gotta get up and go. You gotta get up and work, and you have to be so laser-like in your focus to win, especially in this competitive landscape.
I have to ask you this. I was looking at the Tempo website.
Sure.
And I saw an interview with Sidney Poitier.
Mm-hmm.
Who was the person who did that interview?
That was a gentleman that we work with down in the Bahamas. As you know, Sidney Poitier is from the Bahamas, and the fellow's name is Travolta Cooper, and he's a young filmmaker, and he did it.
It was an interesting interview.
It was
but
nice.
The reason that Sidney Poitier jumped in my mind, because somehow he reminds me of your dad.
Oh, look at that.
Sidney was saying some things that I could see your dad being the kind of person that Sidney Poitier projected in that interview.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Your dad was a wise man.
He's a wise man, man. He's a wise man. And I quote him. I find myself quoting him all the time. That's why I know I get to know all that stuff too, because it's even happening more and more. I quote my dad all the time. He always had something to say that sometimes you didn't understand what it is, but now it's all these things are clear in my mind. And you know, if I could be half of the man he is, I'd be okay.
Is he still with us?
Oh yeah. He's still with us. In fact, I spoke to him earlier this morning. He's good, and that's the other thing. I mean, the good Lord bless my family with some amazing genes as well. So both my parents are doing well, and they're coming up in a couple of weeks for this event, so you'll get to meet them. And
how does he feel about Tempo?
Man, my dad.
I know that's not what he had in mind for you.
He didn't. Neither he nor my mom. I mean, my dad always, talked about, I wanted to see you have to work less than I worked. That's a sign in his mind of measuring how well he did. Mm-hmm. But he sees how hard I work now, and he realizes that he had to change that a little bit and change his definition of what success is on his side. So I said, Dad, you were very successful. You give me all the tools to do what I do, and that's that. But yeah, they're amazing. They're amazing people.
Let's talk about success. Your success at Viacom. You tell us about the ladder you moved up
on. Well, yeah.
And rather quickly, I might add.
No problem. Okay.
No, not for you to move quickly.
You moved up quickly. Okay.
I'm not rushing you at all,
That's
sir.
Okay. Well, I did move rather quickly, and in fact, somebody told me at one point that I sort of got a resume very quickly that looked like I was ready to retire, and I said, well, not quite. But for some reason, I was able to do a lot of the jobs that I got very effectively for whatever reason. So I went to Viacom. Actually, I left my law firm, which is Simpson Thacher, which is a big New York law firm, and I went to Johnson & Johnson for a year. After that year, I got a call from Viacom. Now, the reason I got the call from Viacom is because Viacom was a client of the firm that I used to work for, and I used to do work for the partner whose client Viacom was. Mm-hmm. So they got to know me. So when I went and I left, I realized I didn't want to be a partner in a big New York law firm. As I was climbing and I became a senior.
You didn't want to
I got to the point. Yeah, I mean, obviously anybody would want to most of the times, but I realized that, and I was on track. I mean, you in these kind of firms, you never know whether you're fully on track, but you get a sense. Mm-hmm. And I got a sense, and everybody's given me a sense that if I wanted partnership and I put my head down, I probably would have gotten it. And, in these firms, there's very few black partners, very few African-American partners. And but I realized that I don't think I would have been happy being, a big New York lawyer in a law firm, because of the passion that I had for the Caribbean, the passion that I had for the arts, etc. So I decided to jump off, and I wasn't exactly fully excited about jumping off to Johnson & Johnson, but it was the opportunity that came. We also represented Johnson & Johnson, and they asked me to come. And obviously Johnson & Johnson is an amazing company, and most people retire there. But I went to Johnson & Johnson, and after about a year and a half and really moving nicely in their legal department, I got a call from Viacom. And Viacom said, well, why don't you, we have a position over here, and, we know, well, of course, they, again, knew me from Simpson Thatcher, so it wasn't this big interview process or anything like that. They said, we want you to come over here and head up our litigation department. And I said, well, wow.
Did you say head up?
I did, because I was like, this brings me closer to the entertainment that I love, right?
They heard you were rubbing shoulder with Johnny Carter.
Maybe that's what it was. I don't know. Maybe that's what it was. But
if I can't get Johnny,
I'll take Frederick. That's right. That's right. So I went over, and I got there, and actually I didn't go over to be head of litigation. Went over to be the second in command of litigation, so the vice president of litigation at Viacom. And quickly, within like a year or a half, I became the head of litigation. Mm-hmm. And then after that, they had an opening in MTV Networks, which is one of their subsidiaries and really the cash cow for Viacom. And they had an opening for senior vice president, deputy general counsel, with a real opportunity to become general counsel. So they sent me down, and I had a whole bunch of lawyers that were on my staff that reported to me, and a whole bunch of paralegals. Did all their litigation, intellectual property, pre-broadcast review work, and then the good Lord sent tempo in my head, and that was the end of the story.
The good Lord sent tempo in your head.
Yeah.
Now, I saw here that, I have to find it, where it is said that you pled your case to the Supreme Court of Viacom in presenting the idea of tempo. Tell us about how...
Wow, you did some research, man. That's good.
I love what I do.
That's clear, and you do it well.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Now, you just moved up into this position. Did it take a lot of guts to bring this new project to the powers that be in Viacom? How did that work? How does that work?
Well, man, I tell you, that's the reason I'm so pensive about this particular question is because I really do believe that God guided this entire thing. I mean, I was born to do it, and I didn't realize that I was preparing for the moment. And up to this moment, now that we're 10, and we'll talk a little bit about that, I suppose, but he prepared that moment. After about a year and a half at MTV, they started a program, and the program was a mentorship program, an internal executive mentorship program. I got to be very good with the executive vice president of HR, so Miss Joanne Griffith. She appreciated my work and me as a person, and she was the one who was the brainchild of this internal mentorship program, where a young executive would be mentored by a senior executive. Well, lo and behold, Miss Joanne Griffith, I haven't spoken to her in a while, but I must look her up, chose me to be the mentee of the CEO, which was Tom Freston.
Wow.
Right. So Tom Freston, who was one of the founders of MTV, became my mentor.
Okay.
Right. And so every month we went, so he became a formal mentor under this program, and then after we got to know each other, he became an informal mentor. So every month we had a standing lunch, and I had direct communication with him. So I could text him, he texts me back, how you doing, Frederick? Everything going good? All of that kind of things.
Right.
And one day we were having lunch, and a couple of the idea came to me to start a channel. I was like, but why am I? Actually, it didn't just come to me. I felt like I had gotten hold of the job that they asked me to do.
Mm-hmm.
I had straightened out the department. I had stuff running like clockwork. The lawyers under my team were doing what they in my team were
Don't
doing.
tell me you're getting bored.
I don't think it was bored, but I was definitely questioning
for a
what next. Yeah, and that happens to me all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So so I was just like, I wonder if this cannot be really why I'm here. And then my boss, who was the general counsel, there was talk about him, sort of leaving, and I become the general counsel and all of that. And while that intrigued me, I still felt like, okay, something is not. And lo and behold, I said, I wonder if I'm here because maybe the Caribbean could use a television station. It was the weirdest thing, but it's true.
Stop.
Right.
Stop. Tell me about the visioning.
Yeah.
Of Tempo TV.
And that's really how it started. I mean, I woke up, I basically said, I wonder, why am I here? And I started to think about it.
So you get to that point and you think about it.
Yeah.
And what was the vision?
Well, the vision was, I said, but wait, we have great culture. Our food is amazing. Our people have real vibes. We have festivals. Our place is beautiful. I said, but wait, that is all the kind of things that belong on TV in a nice way. And here I am, a big senior executive, big lawyer at MTV Networks. Maybe I should bring this up. Maybe I should tell somebody. Mm-hmm. These are all people that travel to the Caribbean and stuff like that. Somebody must understand. And then I said to myself, but wait, maybe I should tell Tom. And Tom was my mentor. That's how the whole thing started.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how the whole thing started. And I went to lunch with him, and I told him just what I told you, and he looked at me like, what are you talking about? And I said, but Tom, man, I really feel like this would make great TV. Mm-hmm. And he had some sensibilities to what I was talking about, because his best friend is Chris Black. One of his best friends is Chris Blackwell, who, as you know, helped discover Bob Marley and all like that kind of thing. Island Records, right. Mm-hmm. So I used to go down to Orcabessa and Golden Eye and vacation and stuff like that. And he also spent some time in the Virgin Islands. So he had a sensibility, but he really didn't know what I was talking about. But then it became an obsession for me. From that moment, it just became an obsession. So I put all of my legal skills, research skills and persuasive skills to bear on this argument that MTV should launch a Caribbean network.
Now, I'm sure that it sounded all well and good, but MTV would not be inclined to touch it unless it made financial sense.
Well, that's the thing.
What did that presentation look like?
Well, it took me about a year and a half to really run this thing to the organization. I took a lot of beating up. I learned a lot during that year and a half about how people see the Caribbean, which is not always favorable. Folks see us as a rum punch economy. They can't even really fathom in their idea that commerce is happening and you could have something commercial. So I bounced up on that a lot as I tried to move the whole project forward. But I was persistent. I talked to whoever I could talk to and in the organization. And then about a year and a half in, the question that you asked came to bear for me, which is, okay, it's one thing to have this creative case that we have great saltfish and ackee and we got great roti and we got great kuchala and we got this. I had to translate that somehow into, this network can be financially viable. Mm-hmm. So I actually did something that most people would think is completely berserk or crazy, and I actually left. Since I had everything running, I actually took some time and I went into the Caribbean and still was managing the legal department. Folks, at that point, everybody thought I was crazy because here's this lawyer trying to start this network, not even just a show, but a network. Does he want to be general counsel? Does he not want to be general counsel? But I went into the Caribbean and I started to have meetings with big business in the Caribbean. And I ultimately had a meeting with a company called Cable and Wireless, which everybody in the Caribbean should know. And I got letters of intent from several Caribbean companies saying that if MTV launched the channel, they would support it. Cable and Wireless came in with the biggest number, and then I took that back to Tom Freston and I said, listen, here's the business case. If you launch this channel, I have several companies that are willing to come and support it. And, he looked at it, and by that time he had been elevated to the CEO of Viacom itself, not just MTV. And he called Judy McGrath. I remember that day. It was Valentine's Day in 2005, so I suppose I got love. And he asked Judy McGrath, said, I have Frederick in my office. He's showing me all these MOUs. Why wouldn't we launch this Caribbean channel? I don't know what she said on the other end, but by the time he hung up, he said, well, Frederick, okay, just, you go ahead. And I said, well, what do you mean go ahead? And he said, well, we're giving you the green light to launch this channel, but you're going to have to make it work on your own because it's in nobody's plan. It's in no financial plan. It's in nobody's business plan. Nobody around here wanted to launch a Caribbean channel.
Mm.
Yeah, so you got to go and make it work. And that's how Tempo was born, 2005.
You have to go and make it work. Did that mean you have to raise the money?
Yeah.
Or did it mean you have to run the numbers and convince me that it makes sense?
It meant the
Or
former.
both?
It went the former because what they basically were saying is that you could go and start this channel under MTV, but you're gonna have to all them MOUs. You're gonna have to convert those memorandum of understanding. You're gonna have to convert those into actual contracts. And when you get those contracts and you have the money associated with those contracts, you will use that money in order to run the channel. What we will do is we'll give you space over here. We will make you report to the president of VH1. You will have to give up your job, but we'll give you the same salary and you'll become general manager of Tempo. At the time, I even asked them, I said, listen, I want some ownership in Tempo, and they actually refused. I knew that was going to be a lost case. And I did lose that part. But I said, in the laws of man, it belongs to them. In the laws of God, it belongs to me. And so that's how it started. So every piece of money or cash that went into the development of Tempo is money that came from the hustle and the movement that I made in order to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, within 2 years, you were Mr. Tempo.
Within 2 years, yeah.
Owning Tempo.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How did you go from you can't own a piece of it to it's all yours?
Right.
I see where you manage a what do you call it? An employee buyout situation.
I did a management buyout. Never done in their history.
Yeah.
So you could imagine how difficult. I don't really even tell the story a whole lot, but it was an amazingly difficult process to do that. Mm-hmm. But after about 1.5 years, I realized that I was doing more trying to persuade MTV about the greatness of the Caribbean than really bringing forth the brand. It was taking a lot of energy internally. And I just said, you know what? I'm going to just go in and I'm going to tell these folks I want to buy Tempo. I want just sell me the very thing that I created, which is the, most bizarre thing, But so I said, sell it to me. And of course they looked at me like a crazy again because, here you are, you get to start this thing, which most people would never get. Again, but right in with God, he parted the sea on that. And now you're asking us to buy it, man, you're not. So it took me a couple of months to get them over that hurdle. And then once they got over that hurdle, I had to figure out, well, how am I going to do this?
Could it be that they didn't think it would succeed?
No, I actually 100% believe that, but I also believe that they didn't really fully understand and didn't really appreciate us, right? Yeah. So they didn't appreciate our community. They didn't appreciate a whole lot of things. What I was I had developed a really solid reputation inside, and I was able to get this thing done. But I think in some quarters they were like, give him the rope, let him hang himself. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think when I ultimately was successful in buying the channel out of MTV, I remember very clearly in some quarters somebody saying, Tempo is temporary. Yeah, I'll never forget that. Deep, eh?
Yeah. I looked at the whole situation and I figured that had to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Not to take anything from your skills in negotiation and all that, but I'm sure they looked at it and thought, the time horizon is for success is so long.
Yes.
That
is he gonna make
let him have it.
Correct. And they didn't just let me have it though. They get, honestly, I mean, the story, if truth be told, the story, truth be told, is that they didn't make it easy for me to buy it because they sort of, I'll just say it, they doubled the price in terms of the value, which made it very difficult to purchase. But I did it. I did it. I had amassed a certain amount of resources myself independently as a lawyer. And then my good old parents, came in and assisted my sister, who's also a lawyer. And together we did it. And even with the inflated price, it was almost double the value of it at the time.
Wow.
Yeah, in order to sort of discourage others from trying to do it, and in order, to make sure that.
But it also speaks to your commitment, one, but your belief in the viability of the project.
I've always believed in it. I've always believed in it, man. Some would say the belief is insane. I remember very vividly in the first year at Tempo, I created some T-shirts. I'm a big branding kind of guy, and I feel like you have to brand, and the brand has to signify something. And I remember I branded a T-shirt called Tempo Forever, and I remember a reporter actually saying to me, I don't think I was Mr. Tempo at the time, but he says, Mr. Morton, what makes you think Tempo go be forever? And I said, wow, this is the mentality of our people sometimes, Why would I start something if I thought it going to mash up tomorrow, or it going to mash up a year from now? Why in the world would I do that,
Exactly.
No, I have to see. When I start something, I got to see that my children and my children's children have a chance, right? And the community after that has a chance. It's legacy. So I've always believed in it, and that is what makes you weather the storms. When the storms come, global economic crisis, mutiny in the ship, when all of these things happen to you, it's only your belief in it that allows you to actually make it through.
And your undergraduate degree was?
Economics.
Mm-hmm. So you have a foundation, and you have the tools and the ability to do the analysis and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And know how to juggle.
Yes. I got to say, I'm not a lover of all of that, but I could do it.
But
I know how to do it.
Exactly.
I'm a lover of the creative side, I must say. I feel much more, but I know how to do everything else. I know how to go argue a case before the Supreme Court, and like I said, I know how to write a song and even sometimes belt it out.
We're not going to go back there.
Don't go there.
You know what? I tell you what.
Give the people a break, man.
Romain Virgo knows how to.
Okay, yes, that's why I put him on the show.
And so does.
Right.
And so does
Rihanna. Yeah, all of them.
Let's hear what Rihanna thinks about.
All right, yes, man, my girl.
What you've done.
All right.
So much good music out there. We have so much talent out there, and for them to recognize that and to launch a channel for that is totally amazing.
I knew at that point that Tempo was blessed. Tell me, would you really die for me? Hey, would you spend your whole life with me? What's up? Would you be there to always hold me down? Tempo
Caribbean Rocks is proudly brought to you by the Islands of the Bahamas. It's better in the Bahamas.
Ready for Tempo Turns 10 in association with the Caribbean Tourism Organization presents Caribbean Rocks New York City featuring Romain Fogle. Baby, I wanna be Loyal Flames, Cecile, Isaac Blackman, Rock City, Siggy Rankin, new singing sensation, beautiful Caribbean songstress, Aretha. Hosted by Trinidad and Tobago's top comedian, Rody. Also, special guest appearance by Jamaican's own Quite Perry. It's a sophisticated and entertaining red carpet night. For more information and ticket outlets, visit www.gottempo.com. Caribbean Rocks NYC with Tempo Turns 10. Brought to you by the islands of the Bahamas and Barbados.
Caribbean Rocks, New York City, make sure you attend, with Tempo Turns 10 at the legendary BB King's June 5th and celebrate the beauty of the Caribbean and our amazing culture.
So, Tempo Turns 10.
You're coming again.
It's been 10 years. What has the journey been like?
Man, I have probably felt every emotion known to man in the last 10 years on this project and this brand and this initiative, and from highs to lows to in between, from valleys to mountains, from rivers to oceans. I have been through it with this brand, and but determined. And every time I got to a place or a bridge, the good Lord would reinforce the bridge so that I could cross it. Every single time. Every time the waters got rough, for some way or the other, there was enough calm for me to ride the wave. And we did that, we went middle of global economic crisis and advertising dollars shrinking, and still able to keep the creativity of the channel, The channel itself always was never meant to just be a channel, which I think was a very big part of the whole success story.
What do you mean by that?
It's not just a network, man. It's a movement, and that's how I used to, somebody told me the other day that when they hear me talk now, it's like hearing me talk the day one, the very first interview that I did. I've never wavered on what Tempo has been. And it actually happened to me the other day. I was listening to an interview I did in the Bahamas for Tempo Turns 3. And I said, but wait, I mean, verbatim, I said precisely the same things that I say today. So that's why I know.
For the people who are not familiar with Tempo,
sure,
give us a sense of what Tempo is.
Yeah.
You say it's a channel. Is it like a cable channel?
Yeah, it is a cable channel.
At
its
people
core,
subscribe to?
Absolutely. Here in the United States.
United States. How does it operate in the Caribbean?
In the Caribbean, there are some islands where you just have to have you have to have cable because it's a cable channel. So you have to pay your cable company for the privilege of having cable. And once you have cable in the Caribbean, you have it, right? It's in only one or two islands have they put it on a tier, which means then you have to pay a little bit more to access it. And those are islands that realize that they could make a little bit more if they put it on that tier. But most of the islands, you just have cable and you have it. Here, you have to subscribe.
And so, what's the size of your market in the Caribbean?
Yeah, well,
how many people?
We're reaching worldwide. We're reaching about 5 million people, which equates to about, I would say, probably like 750,000 households. So that's because in a household, you got about 4 people, and then that's how you calculate your viewers. And so we are in practically all of the English-speaking Caribbean. We're in the Dutch-speaking Caribbean. We're in 1 or 2 French islands. The only islands that we're not in right now is the Spanish Caribbean, but we should be in the Dominican Republic shortly.
And I read somewhere about that whole notion of spanning the languages.
Yeah.
Do you actually offer programming in the various languages?
Well,
or is it all in English?
It's English predominantly, but I have hosts at times that would be from either Haiti or Saint Martin or even Guadeloupe or something, and they would go in between. They would say certain things in French and certain, but English is the predominant language. I've had a host from the Dominican Republic. They go in and out of Spanish, that kind of thing. The idea was, and that's why Tempo is so great a name, and that sort of came to me in the middle of the night, 3 a.m. just when I needed it. Again, the good Lord, so I'm saying Tempo. regardless of any language, certainly in the languages of the Caribbean, tempo means tempo. So everybody, it's really a unifying force.
And when you say worldwide,
Yeah.
what are the markets that make up the worldwide?
Okay, well, we are in, certainly the Caribbean. We're here in the United States, here in the tri-state area. We're going on Verizon Fios. We'll be national in about 3 weeks or so. We are also in...
Wait a minute. You said when you go on Verizon Fios.
Yeah, that will be a national play.
That will be national.
Yeah,
So
total
folk in
national
Jersey
play.
and Philadelphia
Wherever Verizon Fios is
Yeah.
in the United States,
Yeah.
you will be able to access tempo programming.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a big move.
Okay.
It's a big
It's
move.
a huge move.
Yeah, it's a huge move. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Listen, and let me say this. The only way for this thing to spread is by us demanding of our cable companies that they put Caribbean programming on. So I wanna tell you, listenership, that if it's not on your cable company, the easiest way for it to happen is for you to call them. In fact, we're gonna start a campaign by saying, call your cable company and tell them, give him a tempo. No long talk. Just say, listen, you know a channel named Tempo? You don't know it? Well, let me tell you what it is. And for me to stay as a subscriber on your thing, I want Tempo.
Let me see if I understand this correctly. So you're going to be national on Verizon Fios, but that's not enough, because if you're in the DC area and Verizon Fios is not, then you still don't have access to Tempo.
Right.
But if you're in the DC area and you have cable, you have a provider.
Correct.
So you can call upon that provider to get Tempo.
Of course, the more we call, see, that's the little secret. I want to wake us up as Caribbean people.
We don't keep secrets around here. Shout it out loud.
And that was saying, I could tell all the Caribbean people in the United States that we are a sleeping giant. And the only way we're going to wake up and start to take our rightful place is if we speak up. One of the things you do not know is you have the power. If you call your cable company or if it's Verizon, telecom company, or you call your satellite company, which is DirecTV or Uverse if you're out in LA and stuff like that. If you call them enough times and tell them that you want you are Caribbean, you're from Barbados, you're from St. Lucia, you're from Jamaica, you're from St. Vincent, and you know of a channel named Tempo that gives you Caribbean and you want it, enough of those calls, they will make it happen. If we don't do that, they think our community does not exist, and I have a very hard time convincing them that Tempo is supposed to be on it. You understand? I was able to convince Cablevision, because obviously, but it's real convincing that you have to do, because they don't know we here. For some reason, we have assimilated into our population, and they don't know we here. They know that our Latin brothers and sisters have distinguished themselves because of language, right? So they know that Latin people are here, and therefore you could jump on TV now and see Latin programming everywhere. Spanish networks
Telemundo?
everywhere. Telemundo, Univision, I mean, all over the place you see it. But we, for some reason, we lose with little accent, and and we go up in the thing, and we only eat with little food and we little corner, if that. And so we have disappeared into the society such that we can't now come and say, but give me a channel. But all it West 150 channels you could watch, because but why you want your own channel? So we have to, as a community, realize that,
I'm glad to hear you say, because we were having a conversation before where folk were talking about people are excluded, and I'm saying, but by whom? Who says you can't go there?
Right.
Who says?
Right.
And when, Frederick Douglass says, power concedes nothing without a demand.
Thank you. One of my biggest statements,
will.
it never did, and it never agitate, and do what? Thank you. I'm a student of Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey, and that is what we do.
Absolutely.
Nobody will give you nothing. Listen, I'm gonna say this, and this is part of the message that I'm trying to bring forward here. Again, my dad, when I was in college, right? I never used to call home for nothing. Even when I brooks and I can't, I would do a little thing here, work, study, ting, and I would try to handle myself. Somehow, my parents get wind of that, and my dad in particular, probably through my sister. You know, he ain't asking me for nothing, a tinky thing, you know. And my dad wrote me a letter, which I still have, and have framed it. And my dad said in here, I admire you for wanting to do things on your own and to not be a burden or anything. But son, we are here for you, and you need to understand that the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Okay? If we don't squeak, we ain't getting no grease.
Absolutely.
So we must get up and call we cable company and demand what it is what we want. We must say that we are a community that deserves small business loans. We may say that we are a community that we deserve certain things, and we are a community. We cannot assimilate so much that we disappear. And then when people don't recognize us, brother, we vex.
You know, in the song Respect Yourself, the Staple Singers, they say you're walking around acting like the world owes you something because you're here.
Come no man.
Just get off your duff and do your stuff.
Come no man. I hear this all the time, and I'm like, yo, how you expect to get it if you don't really say nothing, if you don't rise up, you don't say nothing, you just want to be like other people and then expect them to treat you like you're different. But no man, you have to say who you are, stand up for who you are. So right now, if every Caribbean person in America were to call a cable company, you know what would happen and say that we want Caribbean programming? It don't even have to be tempo. It will be done.
It would be done. It would be done.
And let me tell you, that will wake us as people. It will wake the sleeping giant that we are.
I'll tell you why this is a no-brainer.
Tell me.
There's been a lot of talk in this community about the fact that companies don't advertise with black media.
Right.
They say they don't have to because they don't need to. You know, we all read the daily news and we all watch the television. So why do we need to advertise with black? Well, in this case,
go ahead.
In this case,
yes,
this is so special and boutique that you don't get what Tempo offers anywhere else.
Right. Right.
Therefore, there is a specific place for it.
Of course.
In the media landscape.
Of course.
That argument can't work.
In fact, it's a fallacy from the beginning. Well, you go ahead.
In fact, there will come a time, I envision, when the smart business people out there who want to reach the Caribbean community will have to come to Temple.
Well, see, but that's how the thing's setting up, brother. That's how the thing's setting up. Because, see, what's great about this is I've been trained in that world. Mm-hmm. So that makes me, I suppose, a little dangerous to the world. Because they've trained a mercenary who coming back and are bringing me whole set of Caribbean people. You understand? So I know what needs to be said. I know exactly what they look for when they look for generally. And I'm trying to galvanize our community to understand that we need to come as a force and let me help make the argument. And we will get what it is we ultimately deserve. And until that happens, we're not going to move as a people in this country. Guaranteed.
I'm scared of you.
Well, no, man, I with you. You gotta be scared of me. I with you. Yeah, I with you, man.
I'm scared of you, brother. I'm scared of you.
Oh, man.
But, okay, so we know the business side of it going to be all right.
Yeah, man.
Hold on. Somebody wants to talk to you. The CPR, good evening. Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Blessed Lord, Brother C, this is Ann Moore.
Greetings, Ann Moore. I know you couldn't hold your horses.
No.
Too much to handle.
I'm so excited, you just wouldn't understand.
Well, busted pound winner.
Yes. I'm advocating for the people in the Washington, D.C. area.
Nice.
Because we are desperate for Caribbean, this kind of medium.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and the radio stations, are below par.
Mm.
So having, television is like Christmas come all over again.
Oh, Lord, look at that.
I'm losing you, Ann Moore.
And saying, we have to get him down here. We have to have a meeting.
No. Stop. Anmore, you're moving too fast. You're moving so fast, you're not hearing well. The brethren say, it's in your hand. You just have to call up your place and tell them, say you want tempo. Now, what has to happen is not that he needs to come down there. It's that you need to rile up the posse and start a campaign.
No, I'll rally the troops, I'll rally the troops.
That's it. But that's it.
Telling you how the people down there are.
But that's it. Get the troops together and call up the television people and say, we want tempo.
Yeah. And more, thank you for calling in. I really do appreciate it. And, I'm
looking forward to this.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, what cable company do you have?
Right now, I have Direct TV.
Direct satellite. See, I've been trying to get on Direct TV now for years, right? Comcast, give me my tempo. I seen it right there in your chat room. That's what we have to do. You have to call. You have to become a bug at Direct TV. You call them every week and say, because they register. Let me tell you a little, not a secret. What they do is they register all of those calls. All those calls go into a database. And if enough people, they look into the database, and if enough people call in those they realize that there's a community out there, and that what Frederick is saying is not a madman. Right.
That's what I'm talking about.
Correct. So if you every single time a Caribbean person call and ask for tempo, that goes into the database.
Yes.
So when I call them now and I say, listen, can you please put tempo on your cable company for distribution, because I have a big community that wants Caribbean content. They don't have to tell me, but I never hear so. We have a big database, and we don't see any calls from Caribbean people. Right.
All right.
We see calls for women's entertainment.
I will get my Comcast and my Fios and my Direct TV people on this.
Brilliant. What we need to do, and this is a campaign that has been on my mind, and I see some people saying, give me my tempo in the chat room. That is, you call them, I have a commercial, I'm gonna give it here, and we're gonna play the commercial. It's by a big soca artist, and he said, listen, call up your cable company and tell them, give me my tempo. No long talk, just tell them, give me my tempo.
There it is.
Right. We start that. Listen, thank you so much. If we start that as a national movement, man, you're gonna see some firing up of our community and some respect coming to our community that we have never seen in a long time.
Talk the thing, Brent.
Yeah, since Marcus Garvey used to roll down the streets of Harlem. That's what we need again.
Yes. Absolutely.
That's what we need, a total revolution to wake up the sleeping giants so we could take our rightful place.
Well, please understand that CPR will be a lieutenant in that campaign.
Brilliant. CPR, because the community needs some, right? Right.
Absolutely.
So we're going to revive it. We're going to wake up the sleeping giant. And I got to tell you, man, if we do that, because we contribute to American society in ways that are just ridiculous. If you listen to the statistics, even right now on the African American, who they call African Americans, include us.
Yes.
Because we don't even have a category. So when they send the census or the way they send the box, you ain't really even seeing, you don't know what to check, right? Because you know that, yes, you are of African descent, but we are African Caribbean. We have a different sensibility. We share a lot of things in common with those that are indigenous to this country, but we are indeed Caribbean people. So at the end of the day, we have to raise our voices and say so. If we sleep, we will continue to be asleep. And then we say our communities don't get this. Our communities don't get that.
Thank you.
How are you going to sit around and say that you and you ain't doing nothing, even making a phone call? You don't have to leave your bed. You don't have to come out of your pajamas to pick up your phone. And every one of us have cell phone. Everybody got mobile phone to call your company. There's nothing to do than to do that.
I think what we're seeing here, though, is that we need catalysts like you. Like Anmore says, she wants you to come down.
Yeah, man.
We are people who need catalysts to make these things happen. And
Absolutely. All we need is somebody who have fire in their belly in Washington, and it look like Anmore have it. And all we need is somebody that have fire in their belly in Atlanta, and somebody that have fire in their belly in the Boston area. all of these areas that Caribbean people have kind of settled themselves in mass numbers, even though we all over the country, but there's some pockets that we really kind of settle in. We call up all we people and we settle in those places. But if those places, we need somebody with fire in the belly that would galvanize the community. Man, so much change will come from us seeing ourselves on the TV and people recognizing. Listen, 40 million people go to the Caribbean every year. 40 million. And 23 million of them come from the United States. 23 million people travel to the Caribbean annually from the United States. Now, but they call the Caribbean third world. But so much people want to go to the third world to vacation? But we accept that moniker. We accept that. Well, it cannot be that we so third world and so much people want to come. But 23 million people go down, and yet still, we don't have no network that we could turn on the TV. Every time we get excited that somebody go on The Voice and win something, or some little record go and play, or somebody one commercial, and we're excited, we're doing backflips. Yes. Well, that cannot be enough. It just cannot be enough. It's not sustainable because that happens every now and then. That's why we jump up with it. But if we do what it is that I'm suggesting here, which is to collectively start this campaign, raise our voices, before you know it, that will become commonplace and we will be reaping the benefits of being recognized, because that's all we're saying. We've been in this country for so long and we're not recognized. In fact, when we recognize, it's because we're somebody au pair. We watching somebody child. Yeah. Oh yes, my nanny's from Trinidad. Oh yes, my so is from Jamaica, and it's never ever. But you know, the fact of the matter is, we've had attorney generals. We have joint the heads of the Joint Chief Colin Powell back in the day, right? Joint Chiefs of Staff. We've had Shirley Chisholm, the first black woman congresswoman, Barbados. We've had on the revolution,
first black woman candidate for the presidency.
Most people don't even know that.
1972.
Right. Look how much thing. In fact, one of them who necessarily one wouldn't consider Caribbean helped found this nation. No, most people don't even know that Alexander Hamilton, this big play is on you can't even get tickets to the play. It's on Broadway right now, and it's rap music to Hamilton's story, and most people don't know that the man was born in Nevis.
Listen.
Sorry, you're going to get me into sorry.
No, you're right on point. But guess what? This year, 2016, is a 100-year anniversary of Marcus Garvey coming to this country.
Oh, look, wow. It's what?
The 100th anniversary of Marcus Garvey.
You just educate me on that too.
Well, so I have another education for you.
Well, come now.
He left some big shoes, and I have a vision of a Frederick Morton walking into that shoes and mobilizing, organizing the Caribbean people in this country through this Temple TV to do all the things you just be talking about.
Well, brother, I don't know if I could do that, boy. But I will say this. I will say this. I have studied Marcus, and I have always been a very big student of him. And interestingly enough, I think you know that I was born on the same day as Marcus.
Me don't talk.
August 17th.
August 17th.
And I have been. Listen. I know I share his principles, but his shoes are massively big. But I do know that I am relentless in my ideas about the Caribbean
I'll tell you how
people.
It can be done.
You have to. I need the guidance.
We work with a principle here, or motto: working together to make things work.
I love it, man. It's the only way.
Under your leadership, we work together. It works. End of story.
Wow. Well, brother, if you behind me, because I don't feel like I have a choice. I feel like if I decide to go back into Wall Street or whatever and try to live some sort of comfortable life, that the good Lord would put a judgment on me that I would not like. I really honestly believe that. And so before I go into that situation, right, and get a judgment, I decide I am living and dying in the talk that I'm talking and the vision that I have.
All right.
When I leave here, this earth, they will say that that's what I was doing. So if I have you, if you promising to go with me, brother, and you help me go,
I am promising,
then let me go.
I am promising on behalf of numerous people out there who I know will see the vision and work with it.
Wow. Well, I ready, brother. I ready. I just know that I am mature enough to know that I need the sage and the wise advice of many. I've listened to my parents along the way, even more so now. And I have a very good core group of people that I talk to, and I need it. But I'm ready to use the platform to do what we got to do. That's the whole point.
Talk to us about what we got to do.
Right.
Not to market the platform.
Yes.
But to present the culture.
To present the culture.
The culture, you talk about it. The culture has taken a beating, continues to take a beating, and we don't have soldiers,
right,
cultural workers defending this culture the way it needs to be defending, presenting this culture the way it needs to be presented. What role can Tempo play in that regard?
Well, I think the media, Malcolm talked about the strength of the media and the power of the media. Our media is the most powerful force, man. It's just clear. You can get your messages out, you can move people, and you can make things happen. Having a platform like Tempo allows us to be seen, heard, because of course it's audio-visual, and it allows us to strengthen our community by inspiring them. And an inspired community is a community that moves forward. So my view is that I keep referring to the sleeping giant. We've been asleep. How do you wake up the sleeping giant? Well, you need a platform to wake it up, and you need soldiers who are able to go on air and to be out there moving the platform in as many eyeballs in our community as possible. And there used to be a time when we had movements where we didn't have no access to television. We didn't have no access to television. We hardly had access. We had a little on-the-ground things here and there, but no access to television. Here's a situation where we do have a chance. We have a chance. Bob Johnson created Black Entertainment Television, BET, back in the day. They told him at the time that the African-American community didn't deserve a channel. They didn't so-and-so, etc. Now, he had a whole different mission than I have. But
yeah, because it's right back in the hands of Viacom.
Well, there you go. It's right back. He had a whole different mission. I can't say it. But there's things to learn from that journey,
Absolutely.
though. Right, because here he was, and he's able to galvanize the community. And ultimately, there is, whether it's in the hands of who it shouldn't probably be or not, he created this situation.
But see, that's why I say to you, I'm not talking about the marketing, because that's a done deal.
Yes. Okay. All right.
That's
Fair
a
enough.
done deal.
Fair enough.
The same way that BET grew,
yes,
this is going to grow. That's a done deal.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
However,
from your lips to God's ears.
However, if we look at BET,
yes,
there are some lessons
to learn. Absolutely.
So Tempo doesn't go back to Viacom where it started.
But you see, that is the thing. You said the key thing is lessons to learn. I always tell the wisest man a wiser man learns from other people's mistakes than just their own mistakes.
Yeah.
I don't know. In his mind, he probably didn't make a mistake. That's probably what he wanted to do.
I'm not here to criticize Bob Johnson.
And that's the whole point.
That probably was his business model.
That was his business model.
I don't know.
I will say this. That ain't mine.
Exactly.
That is not mine. My business model, to the extent that you want to call it that, because you have to have it to stay in business, is to build a network that belongs to us, that is for us, and that grows with us, that creates a legacy. I would prefer to envision a Tempo building that is Tempo building in the middle of Times Square, that is Tempo Caribbean owned, than to say that Tempo is, underneath a Fortune 50, where we may or not be able to control the messages that we want to bring forward. I am a guy who need to I can't have, and that's one of the reasons that I had to separate from MTV as well, because some of the messages that they would have wanted to bring are not messages that I necessarily would have wanted to bring to our community, right? because I just didn't think that that was fully healthy. Folks know Tempo in the Caribbean for being a positive network. We stay away from negativity. We have a spiritual component. A lot of what we do is really about uplifting our community. Every now and then something might slip in that might be a little too risky or something. You can't see everything. But everybody know Tempo is a very responsible platform. I wouldn't necessarily be able to keep it responsible if I was in the clutches of somebody else, right? Yeah. Because whatever is hot, I will have to play, right? Even if the girls skinning out and everything else, and even if the plenty gone up inside of the video and everybody shooting everybody, I will have to play that because that is the biggest song. Well, I ain't not doing that. Right. There was times that it was artists in the Caribbean that was at the top of the game, brother. The top ones. But they couldn't make it on Tempo because the lyrical content.
You have standards.
Come on, man.
You have standards.
Come on, man.
You take me to what I'm thinking right now. Last year, Joss Stone was declared by Billboard magazine the Reggae Artist of the Year. You laugh. In 2009, we did a forum that asked the question, could dancehall be the ruination of reggae and by extension the Jamaica brand? It spawned a forum series that we've been doing every year since. We're now in our 8th season. We begin the series in February, Reggae Month, with the State of Reggae reception. And so we invited Billboard to be a part of our State of Reggae reception this year to talk about the situation with Joss Stone. One of the things that was revealed to us from Billboard is that they don't consider the lyric content of music when they determine its category or its worthiness, which means anything goes.
Anything goes. So what are they considering?
With the exception of gospel music, all they consider is the beat of the music.
Wow. Listen, let me say this. The devil was once an angel, and the devil, Lucifer, was the chief musician. Right? Music is so incredibly powerful. Lyrical content is the thing that lays on top the music. So if the beat is carrying it, the lyrical content is exemplifying it, is amplifying it. So you cannot separate the two.
I was
in any kind of way.
Hear that this is what Billboard does.
Come on, man.
And it's not just reggae. First of all, reggae for them includes reggae, soca,
everything, all of the music. I'm surprised they don't include merengue and compa and zouk.
I suggested so create a category called Caribbean music if that's what it is.
Hello.
Because reggae music speaks to something specific.
But brother, they will not do it until we agitate, until we come in the numbers and say there is a Caribbean category. And here's the education on Caribbean music. You name Billboard and you don't understand that there's separate music coming out of the Caribbean?
Here's where I'm going.
Tell me.
I don't want to have to go to them anymore.
Well, there we go. All right, even better. Tempo.
I want to go to
the Tempo charts. We coming for it.
Yes.
We coming for it.
Where I'm going.
Yeah, and we're already starting that
Tempo
course.
Awards program. I don't want to go to the Grammys.
There you go. And that's what we're dealing with. We starting all of that, and now we have to, obviously we got to plant the seed, and then we have to water it, and then it have to grow. But we have this big event coming up, and I envision that if our community supports this event, it will become our award show, a la BET Awards or MTV Awards or Grammys, etc. It will grow into that. The Tempo Awards, Caribbean Rocks is what we call it. Right?
Talk to us about the event coming up. We have about 10 minutes.
Okay, no problem, man. Listen, this event is very exciting. It commemorates 10 years of elevating and promoting the Caribbean. And, it's going to be at BB King's on June 5th. And we having some of the best talent from the Caribbean come up, flying up close to 40 people to perform and do various cultural presentations. 10 years ago, we had a similar event where we partnered with the Caribbean Tourism Organization when we launched. It was at the South Street Seaport. Many here in New York City will remember that event. Absolutely. We had Machel Montano and Wycliffe and everybody. And then we had this young lady named Rihanna. and everybody knows where she went.
Talk the thing.
Right. Okay. So we helped launch Rihanna back in 2005, and so on June 5th, we really doing a similar event with the idea that it will become our staple award show on an annual basis. Hopefully, everything goes good and God blesses it, and we're going to do something similar. We're going to launch another young lady who I believe has all of the skills necessary to go where Rihanna has gone and beyond, and to represent the Caribbean in a major way. Her name is Arita. We have big names like Romaine Virgo on it and Cecile, and it's going to be a beautiful event, man. The main sponsors or partners, I should say, are the islands of the Bahamas, Barbados, Turks and Caicos, and Jamaica is going to join us shortly, and probably St. Kitts Nevis. But we're going to have an amazing time. I want to encourage everyone to come out. Tickets and space is limited because the venue is not a huge venue. It's a beautiful venue. That's why I know it's going to be a beautiful night. The vibes in there is going to be just incredible. So I want to encourage everyone to really go on to Caribbean Rocks NYC or Ticketmaster or BB Kings and organize yourself on the tickets, because really and truly it really is going to be a spectacular night, and there's not a lot of space. And I'm not really joking about this. There's not a lot of space.
There's a finite amount of space.
Yeah, a finite amount of space. So those tickets are going to go if you want to be a part of the situation. They've been really reasonably priced, and you could find all this information again on Caribbean Rocks NYC.
Caribbean Rocks NYC.
Right. .com.
.com.
Yeah.
Is the website.
Or gottempo.com.
Or gottempo.com.
Yeah, GOTTEMPO.com.
So CaribbeanRocksNewYork.com.
Yeah.
Or
NYC. Caribbean Rocks NYC.com or gottempo.com. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, man. And listen, if you want, we want you, part of what we're doing here too is to galvanize the community, and we have a text club. And actually right now we have a campaign going that if you text to the club, you could actually win tickets to the event. So I'll invite everybody to do it right now. Take out your cell phone right now and text the word HOT, H-O-T, to 8677. I believe that's it. Sharon, check that for me now. Yeah, HOT to 86677, I believe. Right. And that would put you into the text club for Tempo. So it will ask you, you'll have to reply why. I mean, we all know how these things work. So you'll text it, a reply will come back, and you just say why for yes, and you're in the club. And once you're in the club, you can win a whole bunch of things. You can win trips to the Caribbean, but you become part of the Tempo movement. So do it right now.
Hey, there it is. Do it right now. Become part of the Tempo movement.
So you text HOT to 86677. Right.
86677.
Yeah. So you must tell the people often.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Right.
You should build it into the
into the thing.
that we
I'm gonna
have.
do it, man. I'm gonna do it. We just this week we decided to sort of activate it.
Okay.
Yeah, when we decided to sort of give some tickets away and stuff like that. So it's brand new. So we're gonna include it in the next set of advertising that we have coming.
I have a whole lot of things we can talk about.
Clearly.
But time is running out.
Yes, man. Yes,
and
man.
you're going to have to promise to come back.
Oh man, I enjoyed this thoroughly. So you're gonna have a hard time keeping me away.
Before you go, though.
Tell me.
Before you go.
Yes.
I see here that some 4 years ago, Essence magazine named Frederick Morton.
Lord.
Excuse me.
Really?
Essence magazine named Frederick Morton Jr. of Tempo TV one of the most eligible bachelors.
I don't know what they were thinking. I have no idea what they were thinking.
What's up with that, bro?
I know. Well, listen, I wouldn't say that I'm that anymore. I wouldn't say that I'm that anymore.
Are you blushing or something?
No. But I definitely wouldn't say that I'm that anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a really amazing, strong woman, and she is amazing. And, it's always great to have an amazing woman behind you.
You're off the market.
I am not the most eligible bachelor anymore.
No longer eligible.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to clear
I don't even know if I was that then, but somebody said I was that. So
listen, I see it in print, so it goes so.
So it goes so. Okay, all right. You had to end this program like that. Right. Yeah, man. I good now.
You're good now.
Yeah, I good. Yeah, man. But it was great.
I don't know how you could be so busy that part of your life. You was avoiding it or something?
Yeah, man, it's not too many people could handle the journey that I'm on, honestly. Yeah, it's a very intense journey, and there've been a lot of victims along the way. Yeah, a lot of victims along the way. Many have tried, and many good people, many good women have tried, and but I am an intense guy with my work, man, and sometimes I have, I must say, regrettably put it in front of anybody who is, and quite frankly, sometimes I still do. But in order to do what I do, I have to do it.
Vegas have a song that says, brock it down.
That's right.
It looked like somebody broke you down, Bridget.
Yeah, somebody did break me down. I will say somebody did bring me down. Well, I actually, I think I found someone who could really kind of keep up, but even I think she will admit that she has her moments where she goes, man, you have to, what is wrong with you? You have to take a break. You're crazy on what is wrong? Yeah. So hopefully
somebody better tell her something.
Right. Or I might have to take a break. Let me
go back on the list.
Yeah, I might. Well, hey, no, not like that. No, not like that. But I mean, like, sometimes take a little vacation here or something from the work.
Lord have mercy.
From the work, yeah. I mean, I got a balance, yeah.
This woman done soften them up.
Nah, man, I wouldn't say that. But listen, there comes a time, There comes a time. I mean, you got to be mature enough to say it, There comes a time when you have to soften up a bit. My dad was always intense, but now with his grandchildren and things like that, I don't even know that is my same dad. There comes a time where
there comes a time
when you gotta soften up a little bit. So
there comes a time.
Yeah, but I ain't gonna soften to the point where I don't understand my mission, because if that happens, I will reverse the thing. I will tell you that. That is very clear to the one I have to, right? That is very clear. Yeah.
Mr. Frederick Anderson Morton.
Yes, sir,
Jr.
Brother C.
It has been an absolute pleasure meeting you,
Thank you,
speaking with you, and having you share with the audience. See in the chat room, them say balance.
It's great, man. It's great. Balance. Yeah, man, I can find it. In order for us to do what we're gonna do, I'm gonna have to find it too.
But I'm really inspired by the Tempo story, what I know of it, and what you've brought here this evening. And like I said, it's a while now Mr. Garvey shoes dust off and in the corner.
Oh wow.
And enough ones come up and can't fill it. I think I see a path.
Wow.
And I feel especially blessed to be able to be talking to you, because I truly believe that there is a path and that you are in the position to be the Pied Piper.
Wow. I can play the flute. I could play it.
Just don't sing.
I won't sing. No, I'm just going to play. Maybe I won't even play. I'll just write the song. You're right.
Right. Well,
yeah,
listen,
thank you, brother.
You have done a great job
of
scoring thus far.
Thank you.
Continue to score. The players of instruments will come and the folk will dance.
Wow.
And we will move to glory.
Oh, my God. Thank you.
Listen,
God bless you, brother.
God bless you.
Yeah,
man.
indeed.
God bless you.
Yeah, man. Keep you safe and everything.
Listen, you stay strong.
I will.
We need you.
Thank you.
Big time.
Thank you. Oh, I hear.
Thank you.
And I need you.
Well, you got me.
Thank you.
You got me.
All right. And thank you, everyone who participated in the chat room and everything. I really had a really nice time. I'll be back. And, God bless you.
Thank you all in the chat room. I don't have to add any more. Those of you in the chat room, those of you not in the chat room, of course, out there listening, that's not in the chat room, we thank you too. And stay tuned, because Mr. Morton will be back. And Tempo is in the house. And
we in the building.
In the building.
Yes.
It's going to get hot.
Yeah, you know it.
All right. In the meantime, Miss G comes your way on Saturday with Reggae Calling. I'm sure she going to have some more things to tell you about Tempo, because she up in the building too.
Yes, sir. Yes. Yep, Madam G, boy, the president.
Right now, it's all about June 5th, and Moore says, "Give me my tempo."
Yes, give me the tempo.
Come out June 5th. Let's celebrate. Let's say,
yeah, man.
When your grandchildren ask you some years from now, where were you on June 5th when this was beginning? When it was being set.
Wow.
This event that is going to dust so many other events that has been shaping. All right? Please be able to tell your grandchildren, I was there. I was at the B.B. King Club to be a part of this groundbreaking, history-making event to pick up 100 years later where Marcus Garvey set it.
Wow.
Be there, June 5th. Tempo, Caribbean Rocks, New York
City.
Walk good, y'all.
Walk good. Respect every time.
Ready for Tempo Turns 10 in association with the Caribbean Tourism Organization presents Caribbean Rocks New York City featuring Romaine Fogle. Baby, I wanna be Loyal Flames. Cecile. Isaac Blackman. Rock City. Siggy Rankin. And the hot new singing sensation, beautiful Caribbean songstress, Aretha. Hosted by Trinidad and Tobago's top comedian, Rody. Also, special guest appearance by Jamaican's own Quite Perry. It's a sophisticated and entertaining red carpet night. For more information and ticket outlets, visit www.gottempo.com. Caribbean Rocks NYC with Tempo Turns 10. Brought to you by the islands of the Bahamas and Barbados.
New York City. This is Romaine Virgo inviting you to Caribbean Rocks NYC with Tempo Turns 10, the main event. Brought to you by Tempo in association with the Caribbean Tourism Organization. Sunday, June 5th, New York City comes alive with the pulsating sounds of the Caribbean. I will be there to talk about love. Also featuring Rock City, Ziggy Rankin, and the beautiful Caribbean songstress, Aretha. Come celebrate as the Caribbean Rocks New York City at Tempo Turns 10, the main event. Be there. Oh, baby, you don't understand. Oh, girl, the full intent of mine.
And from what year were you in Mona Rehab? How old were you when you first went in?
Well, me have to talk from what my mother tell me, you know.
Yeah.
Cause when me get sick, me is kind of young, like 2-year-old, like, you know.
So you think
so me don't really know where I go on. So from I 2, right, I there between the institution and back home. Institution and back home. Cause like alright, after 2, right, I feel I was at the institution from 2 to about 4, 5, right? And then, because I remember as a little kid, I remember when I usually have some small touches, you know? Small
Sunshine girl, you don't know, you just rubber the blood.
Sunshine weather with my sunshine girl. She gives me much pleasure in our world. Come on, sunshine weather with my sunshine girl. She gives me much pleasure in our world. Yeah, oh yes, it's all about my sunshine girl. She always give me pleasure in my sunshine world. She's always by my side, she's not a sometime girl. She always makes me happy, she's a fun time girl. My sunshine girl, she rock my world. No